my topic tonight is called "It's easier to tear down than to build up." For example, if we wanted to knock this wall down behind us, that would be quite easy, I think, with most of us here. Some of you might run at it. Whatever, we could have that wall down in a couple of hours. But to build that wall takes a lot longer. So, anyone know this man here? His name is Gerald Ratner. Anyone ever heard of him before? Joshy has. Good. Excellent. Anyone else? Anyone else know his? This man here, as you can see, he's got rings on his fingers and bells on his toes. He was a jeweller, and he worked in his family's business, and he built an empire. He had 2,500 jewellery shops around the world. The company was worth £500 million, and he was living the high life, and so he was very successful. He's actually the #1 jeweller in the world, until one day in April 1991, he was at a function, and he said this. He said, "We also do a glass-cut sherry decanters complete with 6 glasses on silver-plated tray that your butler can serve you drinks on, all for £4.95, about $10. If you're interested, you can buy one. People say, how can you sell this for such a low price? I say, because it's total rubbish." He said that, and then he followed it up talking about a set of earrings. He said one of the sets of earrings was cheaper than Marks & Spencer's prawn sandwich. Who's been to England and shopped in Marks & Spencer's? Anyone? Yeah. Anyway, great store, but probably wouldn't last as long. Those are the 2 things he said that night. He said lots of other things, but they were the most important things. The next day, the media had a field day, and within 6 months, the empire was no more. Everyone knew really that most of his jewellery was cheap rubbish, but they didn't want to believe that it was actually cheap rubbish. And so he admitted that it was cheap rubbish, and within a couple of months, it was all gone. So it's easier to tear down than to build up. As most of you know, at teens camp, teens and kids camp, I take a lot of photos. There's a photo of you on there, Donna. I told you there was going to be one. Are you in that one? No, you're not in that one. Damn. I did have one of you, but people would stare at it for too long. So every year I take a series of photos, and every year I get people going, "I don't like that photo, can you take it down?" Now what usually happens is their elbow looks a little bit funny, or their eyes are a little bit wonky, or their eyebrows not straight. Now I have a lot of trouble with my eyebrows, and my kids mock me for that. That's the only bit of hair I really have. Anyway, it takes a lot. Every time, if you look at the photo, you know it yourself. I think, unfortunately, the girls would be the same, that they'll look at a photo and you may look absolutely stunning, but you go, "I look terrible." It's the worst thing. But this is a fun, exciting photo. It does have Caleb Branson in it, but hey, you can't have everything. So it's easy to do that. A couple of years ago, we were going as a family to Ballarat, and we were catching a plane. And I'd arranged for someone to pick us up at 5:30 to take us to the airport. It was an early morning flight. And I didn't communicate with my wife very well, and she was panicking because she hadn't really flown very often. And she wanted to be there at 5 o'clock, and I said, "We don't really need to be there that early." And she goes, I said, "Oh, he's coming at 5:30. And she goes, "I'm all stressed now, you've ruined my whole day." It was 5:30 in the morning. But it's quite easy for us to do that, isn't it? To say, "That's it. It's all negative. I'm not doing it anymore." So, words that have reactions. Here's some words. Let's see what reactions you get to them. Donald Trump. Everyone loves Donald Trump, don't they? I actually tried to look this week to find out anything good about Donald Trump, and there were 10 good things he did, but there was about 3,000 different ones that he didn't do. Mondays. Everyone like Mondays? No. School? Port power? Hey, I never said it was a good or a bad reaction. Never. The crows? Yeah. House meetings? Praying? Don't knock Noah? I just had a conversation about some negativity from Don't Knock Noah earlier, but that was another story. Outreaching, Ryan Allen. How we react to things is different. Focus on the good. I'll bring you up a scripture so that you know that there is a scripture that we can use. We all know this. It's called the whatsoevers. Whatsoever things are good, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are lovely, good report of any virtue, think on those things. A couple of years ago, I went and saw a psychologist, and because it is easy to be angry, and it is easy to find fault in lots of things. And she said to me, she plays a game called I Spy the Good. I said, how do you play that game? And she said that what she does is she talks to the people that come and see her, and she finds a good in the situation that she has. And she had a man that came in, and he had been knocked off his bike. He was a cyclist, and he was seriously injured. And he told her the story how he'd come to see her so he could get back on his bike, and she listened to his story. He'd spent 3 months in hospital and so forth. And she said, I found at least 6 things good in the story that you've just told me. He said, I almost died. I was in hospital for 3 months. There's no good in the story that I have. She said to him, you were riding with a group of people. Now, when you had your accident, which is a terrible thing, 3 of the cyclists were nurses and 2 of them were doctors. So you had the best possible care at that point. She then said that you went to hospital and that was terrible, but in hospital you met a friend that you hadn't seen for 10 years and you re-established a friendship that was lost. She goes, that's another good thing. And she listed all these sort of things. So we can stand here and we can find the negativity in everything that goes around us, or we can focus on the positive. So bad things happen in our life. We all know that. We sometimes feel lost, we sometimes feel alone, but we always, if we can focus on the good and we can find the good. So again, to find the negative in a situation is easy. To take the time to find positivity in a situation takes more work. Easy to be negative, and that's why we love shows like The Bachelor, don't we? Yeah, you love The Bachelor. I know you do. You don't have to put your hands up and do it, but you love it because there's drama. There's always the girl that everybody hates and so forth, and you talk about it and you get involved in it. But the challenge today is take the negativity and find the positivity and focus on the good. Leave it there. Thank you.